Hi everyone, I'm here with
Naomhán.
and we are here to talk about burnout.
Burnout, man.
Burnout, man, it's a bummer. I mean, I've been doing trans activism kind of stuff for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped. It's just been non-stop. I mean, I don't have a huge problem with that, but I think it's really important for people like myself, who are kind of, and yourself too, I'd imagine, right? Who just need a little bit of support sometimes, or need to know when to say no, or need to know when to quit it, because I found it really hard to say no to certain things. People email you with all sorts of opportunities, and sometimes it's really hard to know what to say yes or no to. I've kind of stopped answering university questions, like people doing university projects, they email me, and I used to spend a lot of time answering their questions. There's another activist that I know that actually gets they have someone has a set list of answers that they send to people, so people often ask generic questions, and if you've got a set list of answers, you can just forward that on to somebody.
I guess if you've answered the question once, then you just keep a hold of it, and then you just keep adding to it.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So we've got we've come up with some ideas that people can utilize, and actually I'm trying to tell myself this as well, of what to do to kind of avoid burnout, or if you're actually at the burnout stage, you know, what you can do for yourself too. And I think I'm pretty much there at the burnout stage. I mean, I know there's no longevity with the kind of pace that I'm at the moment, and yet I was talking about this to someone else about I really feel like I'm catching up for lost time at the moment, so I'm really happy to be alive and to be doing the work that I'm doing, but
it's one of those things when you start to feel better and you feel good in yourself, and maybe for me for such a long time I felt so bad and I couldn't do anything, and now I have all this energy and I feel so good, and I can do so many things that instead of just doing one or two things, I'm doing 100 things.
And then I always feel like I'm just spreading myself too thinly, and then nobody benefits from it, especially not you.
With being trans, because it's not just something that we're fighting for, it's something that we are. So it's so hard to switch off from it. It's it's a part of my everyday life, a part of your everyday life, as well as something that we're fighting for other people. It's something that we're fighting for personally. And it's something that we're it means so much that you're not just going and educating people about something that you have learned about. It's something that is your life.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's who you are.
Yeah. How could you not do that?
Yeah.
But, you still have to pick and choose, because often this work is unpaid. You're spending a lot of time traveling to get to some event, and then you've got to travel back, and during that whole time it can be quite exhausting, because people want a piece of you in some ways. They want to tell you about something, or and which is wonderful. I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing what's going on in the future, but especially times like this as well, just because Trans Pride is on its way, and there's a lot of organising to do for that.
I think summertime is the worst.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Because I think you've got things like, for example, I'm helping out with a summer camp. You've got Trans Pride. You've got various Pride events, which people will say, "Oh, are you going to march in it? Can you come and speak at this? Are you going to run some events for this?" And the summer just keeps building momentum, and then it just drops off, and there's nothing, and there's no kind of balance there. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's all or nothing, and that's really hard to manage as well.
Recognize that there's always going to be stuff that you need to do. There's always going to be messages in your inbox and so on. It's always ongoing, so it's up to you to decide when to say no to things, if not all of it.
Yeah, and you've got to realize that there's some stuff that you are good at, and there's some stuff that is your area of expertise, and some stuff that's worth passing on to someone else.
Yeah, because someone might be able to do it better, or in shorter time, less time.
More easily than you can.
More easily. So number 2 is working out where you're heading, and actually head in that direction, and don't get distracted.
That is so hard.
So hard.
Because you get an idea, and then someone's like, "Oh my god, that's so great, but we could do this," and then my friend has this idea, and then how about we do this, and suddenly your idea of making t-shirts to raise some money for your local group has turned into putting on a whole festival for
and a fashion show, and exactly,
and raising money for 20 other charities as well.
Exactly.
So be focused.
Be focused. So number 3 is making sure that you can actually reach out to other people and share the problems that you have, or share the workload.
I think this is where the online community becomes extremely useful, because I found before I met people in person, I met people online. I met you online, I met Kate online, I met all of my gender racing crew online, and I had that support before I ever met any of you, and that has continued to this day. And sometimes your friends and people in your local community are also stressed out about the same events, and it's really good to have someone overseas or who's separate that you can contact and say, oh man, I'm so stressed out.
And they can say, look, the deadline's not for another 2 weeks, so don't even worry about that right now, or I can help with XYZ, and then all of a sudden it's a lot easier. So a problem shared is a problem halved. The number 4 is seeking a balance between your work and personal life. And if your life is anything like mine, it just completely intertwines. So I love the fact that the work I do it doesn't often feel like work. It feels like, it's part of my passion. But having that separation is really important. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of jealous of people sometimes who have a 9-to-5 job where they can just switch off at the end of the day, and then they call you up and they're like, what are you doing? Do you want to go out for some pizza, or do you want to go for a drink? And you're like, how do you have time to do this? But they do, because someone else employs them, and
they go home, they clock out, and that's it. I find what I've started to do is that I have days where I will turn off my my phone. I won't look at my email. I won't check Facebook or Twitter, and I'll just put on Netflix or watch some crappy movie that I've got on a DVD, and have a drink and just shut out the rest of the world. And for me, that's the only way of doing it, because so much of trans activism that I do is locked up in the online world. I can just go on to Facebook to message someone, and I'm instantly pulled right back into it again.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I have with that is that when I decide to not log into my emails or not log into Facebook, by the time that I do, I've got triple the amount of stuff to assess. So
maybe more for 4 hours or something on an evening, and then make sure you get a good night's sleep, and then the next day start again.
And then you can deal with it in a better frame of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is to make sure that you practice some self-care, so you can devote some time to your own personal well-being, so that you can replenish yourself, because often we can feel quite depleted. So I love going for a walk with my dog, preferably around trees or greenery or something like that. That always makes me feel so much better. What do you do?
For me, it's training at the circus school, and it's something that just totally takes me out of the zone. It's 2 hours of really intense exercise in a room where all the adults get to be big kids.
Great.
And we just have a really great time, and it's with all my friends as well. So for me, that's self-care.
And it gets you fit as well at the same time.
Yes, and it gets me fit, which is a really important aspect of self-care, I think, is to be active. You don't necessarily have to be lifting weights.
Yeah.
But going for a walk, or getting yourself outside of the house.
Moving, yeah.
Because you can get so locked into your own space. I can be in my bedroom for 4 or 5 days in straight and not have left it.
Yeah, it's not that healthy. So it's finding a balance between definitely.
Yeah. So the next thing is to do what you're good at. So for me, that's been really hard to work out, because
you're good at so many things.
I'm good at so many things. No, because I like to think that I'm good at so many things, and it's hard for me to admit that I'm not necessarily the best person for every job.
I'm exactly the same.
I'm a total control freak.
I'm a total control freak, and I hate admitting that as well.
Yeah. So it's about accepting my own flaws.
Yeah.
And for example, most recently we designed a non-binary Northern Ireland logo. Cool. And I totally wanted to do it myself, even though I have no expertise in this area. And one of the other people in the group was like, well, I know how to use Photoshop.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, I handed the control over to them.
Great.
And they came back with the most amazing design, and it was so much better than what I could have come up with.
Yeah.
And it really took the stress off me, because that would have taken me twice the amount of time to do with them, because I don't know how to use the software. Whereas my expertise would be filmmaking, or editing. Well, editing more than filmmaking. And so if I focus on that and offer those skills, then, it makes my life easier, and it helps other people out too.
So delegation is super important. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so just finally, it's good to remember that you're only human, and it's really important to be good and kind to yourself, because stress is such a killer. It's, it just can give you all sorts of illnesses, and it's really not fun. So,
we're all our own worst critics.
Yeah, it's true.
So if someone gives you a compliment, don't deny it. Just say thank you, and just learn to start saying thank you for stuff like that, because we can always beat ourselves up. And if someone else says something good and congratulates you, just feel good about it.
Say thanks. Yeah. I worked really hard
and
on that.
believe that you did work hard on it and you deserve that thanks, rather than being like, oh, I should have done this better, I should have done that better. There's always something else we could have done.
You're so right, and that's the thing. Like, and then there's no satisfaction in any work that you do. No. So yeah, I think everything's a learning process, and I mean, even talking about this seems to help right now. Like, I feel better about this whole burnout thing, and I think it is avoidable, and it's about finding ways to make your life easier. And I don't know, like I also, it's like I never really used to give myself time. Well, it's like in recent months I haven't had the time to create, and that's, you know, it's about having that blank space, like a couple of days where there's just nothing booked in, where you can be like, what shall I do today? And it doesn't need to be like, I'm going to do my laundry and do the shopping and all that, catching up with time. It could be, I'm going to write a kid's book, or I'm going to, you know.
I'm the same as well, because I write poetry and do spoken word, and I haven't done that in a year.